Welcome to the debate room. Usama Zahid is here. Today we will discuss an important development regarding the potential travel restriction that the Trump administration is considering. A memo lists 41 countries divided into three separate groups. Pakistan is included in the group being considered for partial visa suspension. If the government does not address deficiencies within 60 days, visa issuance could be affected. The US is considering sweeping travel restrictions for many countries. During Trump's first term, a ban was imposed on travelers from seven majority Muslim nations. Let's analyze the implications of this policy and what it means for Pakistan. Pakistan likely to face travel ban by Trump administration. Pakistan may face a partial visa suspension of US visa issuance if the government does not address deficiencies within 60 days. The Trump administration is considering issuing travel restrictions for citizens of multiple countries. A memo has listed 41 countries divided into three groups. The first group of 10 countries, including Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, Cuba, and North Korea, faces a full visa suspension. The second group includes Eritrea, Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, and South Sudan, which will face partial suspension affecting tourists, students, and other immigrant visas. The third group, which includes Pakistan, Belarus, and Turkmenistan, is at risk of partial suspension if their governments do not take corrective measures. A US official, speaking on condition of anonymity, cautioned that the list might cheat and that it is yet to be approved by administration, including US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The New York Times first reported on this list. The proposed travel restrictions are reminiscent of the ban Trump imposed during his first term on travel from seven Muslim majority countries. The policy underwent several changes before the Supreme Court upheld it in 2018. On January 20, Trump signed an executive order requiring stricter security vetting for foreigners seeking admission to the US. The order directed cabinet members to submit a list of countries by March 21 that should face full or partial suspension due to deficiencies in vetting and screening information. This directive is part of Trump's broader immigration crackdown, which he had previewed in an October 2021 speech. In the speech, he pledged to restrict people from the Gaza Strip, Libya, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, and other regions demand security risks. The State Department has not yet responded to Reuters' request for comment on this issue. Full list of countries under consideration for travel ban. The Trump administration is considering imposing travel restriction on 41 countries. The list is divided into three groups. Full visa suspensions: Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, Yemen. Partial visa suspension affecting tourists, students, some other visas: Eritrea, Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, South Sudan. Countries recommended for partial suspension is deficiencies are not addressed: Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Belarus, Benin, Bhutan, Burkina Faso, Cabo Verde, Cambodia, Cameroon, Chad, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Dominica, Equatorial Guinea, Gambia, Liberia, Malawi, Mauritania, Pakistan, Republic of the Congo, Saint Kitts and Nevis, Saint Lucia, Sao Tome and Principe, Sierra Leone, East Timor, Turkmenistan, and Vanuatu. A US official emphasized that the list is not final and is awaiting approval from the administration, including Secretary of the State Marco Rubio. The Trump administration proposed travel restrictions, which target 41 countries, including many Muslim majority nations, are being framed as a national security measure. However, a closer examination reveals that this policy is less about genuine security concerns and more about political posting and reinforcing uh, discriminatory immigration policies, selective targeting, and Islamophobia. One of the most glaring criticism of this policy is its clear pattern of targeting Muslim majority nation and developing countries. While the memo claims that countries are listed due to deficiencies in security and vetting measures, the historical context of Trump's first term Muslim travel ban, which was ultimately upheld by the Supreme Court in 2018, suggests a constitution of Islamophobia immigration policies. The ban disproportionately affects nations from Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, reinforcing the perception that this is a religiously and motivated discussion rather than a national security measure. If the true purpose were a national security, why are countries with the proven link to terrorism, such as Saudi Arabia, whose citizens were involved in 9/11 attacks, consistently about from the such bans? The absence of certain countries which questionable human rights and security records exposes the insufficiency or in the application of these travel restrictions. Economical and diplomatic fault are affected nations for countries like Pakistan, which rely heavily on remittance from expertise living in the US. Visa restriction could have significant economical and very questionable. The Pakistani diaspora in the US contributes to trade, investments, and educational exchanges. A visa ban or partial suspension would restrict skilled professionals and students and business travelers from the engaging with the US, leading to economical setback for both nations. Furthermore, travel ban create diplomatic tensions. Pakistan have been a strategic partner of the U.S. in counter-terrorism efforts for decades, imposing a travel restriction without considering the country's comparison in the regional security efforts in both saturated and counter-terrorism is very important issue. Similarly, of the nation on the list, such as Libya, Sudan, and Yemen, are struggling with the internal instability and humiliation crimes, and rather than assaulting them, the U.S. should consider policies that support governance, stability, and economical development. Contradiction and U.S. democratic and human rights values. The U.S. has historical positions itself as the champion of democracy, human rights, and global in the world. However, policies like these expose the hypocrisy of the foreign policy by enacting blank travel bans. The U.S. punishes innocent citizens who have the direct ties to criminal or terrorist activities, effectively reducing people to people exchange that foster goodwill and understanding. A major issue with this approach is that it paints entire nation with a broad brush, describing individual merit and legitimate reasons for travel. Many students, professionals, and tourists from the nation have no involvement in security threats. By imposing blanket suspension, the U.S. undermines its own moral standing in the world. A policy driven by politics rather than security. The timing of this travel restriction proposal suggests that is the more of a political maneuver than a necessary security step. Trump immigration policies have always been a central pillar of his political situation, appealing to nationalist and sentiments and anti-immigrant voter bases. This latest move seems to be a calculated step ahead for future elections, aimed at reinforcing his thought stance of immigration rather than addressing any credible security risk. The directive issued in Trump's executive order requires a list of nations to be submitted for review within 60 days, and arbitrary deadline that suggests rushed policy making rather than a well thought out security strategy. Such hastily drafted policies increase the risk of diplomatic flaw, legal challenges, and backlash from human rights organizations. A very tough situation for Donald Trump. The proposed travel restriction reflect a continuation of Trump controversial immigration policies that disproportionately target Muslim majority and developing nations. Instead of fostering strong diplomatic ties and cooperation on security measures, this policy risks alienating allies and worsening global participation of the U.S. If national security were truly the concern, the administration should focus on strengthening vetting, producing across the board rather than imposing blanket bans or select nations. A more balanced approach, one that promotes mutual cooperation rather than escalations, would serve the U.S. and international community for better than another round of discriminatory travel bans. Today's discussion highlights the potential impact of the new U.S. travel restriction under the Trump administration. Pakistan is at risk of partial visa suspension if the government does not address deficiencies within 60 days. The list of 41 countries includes those facing full or partial travel bans. This move is similar to the travel ban imposed during Trump's first term. The administration's policy aims to enforce a stricter security vetting on foreign travelers. However, the list is still under review and subject to change. We will continue to monitor developments on this issue. Stay tuned for more insight on the debate room. This is Usama Zahid. Thank you.